You know, I'm not a huge fan of the summer season, but you have to admit, the soundtracks for kind of exemplifying summer-themed season, you have to admit, this soundtrack is quite nice to listen to. Anyways, welcome back to another episode of Super Princess Peach. In this episode, there's a conversation I want to put on hold until Friday, maybe till next week. We'll see how that goes. But I have to put it on hold because I just saw some news this morning that I have to literally just straight up kind of expose. And if you guys watched part 17 of this playthrough, you're gonna know exactly what I'm gonna be talking about. How the greed for this company is going to screw them over, and it's actively going so right now. And you heard that right. I'm not kidding with you guys. This is what's happening right now. Sony is being sued for allegedly retaining substantial windfall generated by illegal tariffs. I don't know what's illegal about the current tariffs that are being thrown around right now, but that's just what the news is. That's just what this news page is saying. But it basically, Sony is being sued by the consumers because certain people are getting hacked on their accounts, and not to, I guess, for customer service and whatnot, for accounts being hacked and whatnot. Currently, right now, it seems like the customer service are not giving a flying flip at this point with how things are being handled, because they're being hacked and being getting lost access to their accounts and whatnot, and it doesn't seem like the company really cares at all that much, which they should care at this point, because with the price hikes that are going right now and the economy that's happening right now, and I'm not trying to pull a negative light on the economy right now. This is not the focus of the video. The focus of the video is Sony here, because they decided to just not give a crap. And then, from what I heard from a story from Frittata Plays, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm gonna just keep calling you Frittata. But the thing is, if you want to know more about the story, go check out this video. I'll maybe leave a link in the description below. We'll see what happens there. But I want to expose on Sony because this is just something that I just saw this morning, and I'm like, you know what? I gotta freaking talk about this today, because I'm not talking about another day. There's no need to see this situation weave out, and I think this is just something I pretty much predicted from literally video 17 of this playthrough. The greed of these companies is going to literally collapse them to the ground, and it's going to continue doing so. I mean, come on, Nintendo's getting sued, the Sony's getting sued, Microsoft is actually, we don't talk about Microsoft. Anyways, the reason why being is I really don't have much to say about Microsoft, but I'm pretty sure they're getting sued too. But needless to say, the thing that's going on with all these companies is just a lot of greed is just happening. So I want to dive in completely into this article here, and we'll see what's going on. So, anyways, the class action lawsuit argues that Sony will attain a double recovery windfall following the Trump administration's IEEPA tariff refunds, which is argued should be passed on to the current consumers that are buying PlayStation 5s and PlayStation 5 Pros and whatnot. Any PlayStation products that are, being consumed. It's starting to feel like a new Sony lawsuit is dropping every other week. The latest is a class action complaint filed against PlayStation 5 maker Sony in the United States District Court for the Northern District of California. It accuses the company of retention of substantial windfall generated by unlawful tariffs imposed by a federal government under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. According to the plaintiffs in Walker Edel Sony Interactive Entertainment LLC case, Sony is set to obtain a double recovery windfall as a result of Trump administration. Yeah, we already read that part. Which they believe should be, yes. So pass on to the consumers. Let me just start over, okay. So I guess that was like literally the sentence that was cut off. So the IEP tariff refunds, which is argued that should be passed on to the consumers, since the price of the PlayStation consoles was increased in the same period to counter said tariffs. If you're wondering why this sounds familiar, two plaintiffs filed a class action lawsuit against Nintendo for similar reasons last month. So what do we have here? A repeat of history with two companies, and I think Microsoft's going to be next, or another company completely that decides to think like, oh, you know what? You know what's the solution to this economy and these consumers that are buying our consoles? Let's raise the price up a bit more. Yeah, let's just jack it up even more, because they're going to just buy it anyway, right? And I think I've mentioned it like earlier in this playthrough, and probably somewhere along the lines. I wish I can remember exactly when, but I did say fight back, because you're the consumer and you actually have power in numbers to fight back on these companies with your wallets. And honestly, I'm like, if this video is getting some sort of attention from that, I'm proud of y'all. Really proud of y'all. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep fighting back with your wallet. I mean, to be honest, do we really have a choice to buy video games and consoles at this point? No, because gas prices are up the roof right now. So I don't think we're at a point in time where we literally have to choose, okay, do we buy food this week or do we buy the gas? Yeah, I'm buying food. I'm gonna ride a bicycle this week. So anyways, let's keep going further into the news here, which I don't mind. I mean, it's nice out, so why not? I'll probably ride my... Well, actually, I promised somebody a ride to a group tonight, so whatever. Anyways, Sony, for those of you that know me in real life, you know who I'm talking about, but I'm not trying to call anybody out by any means. Like, really, it's not a big deal. Anyways, Sony announced that the price hike of PlayStation console will be drastically increased in the United States on August 2025, and then again for a second time on May 27, 2026, which is upcoming, by the way, this month. On April 20th of this year, following the U.S. Supreme Court decision that the Trump's administration IEPA tariffs were unlawful, U.S. Customs and Border Protections created a tariff refund website to facilitate refunds for said tariffs to affected importers. So you have here just like pretty much at this point, like which is basically what's going on in the past year, and you know what's gonna happen upcoming with the price hikes and everything. So there's that to look at. If you hear any thing in the background, my mom's just doing some stuff in the background right now. She's just cleaning something up, but it's all right. Just ignore it, okay? Anyways, to put it in simpler terms, the plaintiffs are arguing that as Sony passed the costs of IEPA tariffs onto consumers, well, yeah, customers, I guess, by increasing the prices of its consoles, and is now set to receive refunds for said tariffs, it will essentially be double dipping, getting the extra money from selling consoles at higher prices and now getting big refunds from the federal government. So basically, if you're a consumer of PlayStation 5 at this point, you're compensated for getting the tariffs that are affecting you, because consoles are now like about $900 now for a PS5 Pro, literally almost $900. I'm not paying that much for a PS5. Sorry, no. Honestly, I think I know someone that owns a PS5. Honestly, I think now, if you bought a PS5 like 5 years ago, I would just sell it. I would. You literally just made a $500 profit. Congratulations. Literally. And I'm going to tell you why you should sell your PS5 later on in this video. But enough about that. We're going to keep going on this article here. To put it in simpler terms, plaintiffs are arguing that as Sony passed the cost of IEPA tariffs onto consumers by increasing the prices of its console, and is now set to receive refunds for said tariffs, it will essentially be double dipping, getting the extra money from selling consoles at higher prices and now getting big refunds from the federal government. Well, I guess that would put it in simple terms. Yeah, I guess. So the lawsuit argues that instead, the refunds should be passed on to the consumer. So for context, the suit specifically states that between August 21st of last year and April 2nd of this year, the PlayStation Disc Edition saw a $150 total increase. The PlayStation Digital Edition also sees that same amount of increase. And the PlayStation 5 Pro sees an increase of $200. The case is a nationwide class suit, which means that should the plaintiffs win, all individuals who purchased a PlayStation console during the class period of August 1st of last year till now are included. So they're pretty much compensated to the plaintiffs. The cases was filed on May 6th of this year, so it's too early to say exactly what kind of sums would be passed on to the consumers if the plaintiffs win. So, I'm gonna sit here and talk about the boss for a second. There's gonna be consequences and easier methods to this boss fight that I showed them in episode 8, I believe. I think it was either episode 7 or 8. But if you, if you want to see this boss fight on how I did it, first off, go watch that. But this is gonna be a rematch, and I'm not gonna explain too much about it. But once we get to the phase of the, like when Gooper Booper decides to fall asleep here, an easier method of just trying to hit the bubble like 5 times. The easiest method is to just get angry, like use the angry heart, and then just literally just ram into it for like a couple seconds, and then you're good, pretty much. So anyways, I wanted to put in my intake about the situation on how the greed is just really gonna take into this, and why, if you're pretty much owning a PlayStation 5 right now, I would just straight up just sell it at this point. And get a better console. And what is the better console, I would say? Well, it's not really a console. I would say get yourself a Steam Deck or build yourself your own computer. I know RAM prices are up right now and everything right now, but I think a $500 boost would help quite drastically at this point. And I think I would use the money to, like, if you're gonna use it and invest it into gaming and whatnot, I would definitely 100% use it. It's a no-brainer in a way. I would think so, at least. So it's, I think it would be a huge W in a way. And no, this is not scalping. I mean, if the consoles are being sold for like $900, just go like $200 down, you make a $200 profit in a way. I mean, if you look at like the prices for like everything on how things are being sold, it's actually crazy on like looking at the PlayStation history of like how they're being sold compared to 5 years later. So like PlayStation products, if I were to look it up right now, PlayStation products, consoles costs from launch to 5 years later. 5 years later, there should be a chart that shows it. So yeah, so you have the PS1 launch price was. Oh, okay. I guess we're gonna go. No, I want 5 years, dude. What the heck? Oh, okay. It's there. So at the release, the PlayStation 1 was released for $300. Yeah, I know, right? Kind of shocking. And then 5 years later, it was sold for $100. The PS2, one of the greatest consoles of all time, and still actually one of the greatest consoles of all time, actually might consider purchasing it, was sold also for $300, and then 5 years later, sold for $150, so has half the price. PlayStation 3 was sold for $600, and is now sold for $250. The PlayStation 4, for anybody who still owns one, is sold for $400, and then 5 years later was sold for $300. So So $100 difference right here. And then you have the PS5, $500, and now, well, $600, and I believe it's gonna be like $800, $900 like 5 years later. So that's what I'm saying. Like, you're gonna make a profit right then and there if you sell your console right now. So my here's my take on this. Okay, so we have here a $200 difference down, which is what you want. Actually, this is what you want as a company, because that's actually what you want. I mean, it's not worth too much anymore, but because you have the new products. So PS1 was $100 difference, downward. PS2 went $150 downward, and then the PS3 went $250. No, $350 downward. I think, right? It was 600 to 250. So that is if you go from 600 to 250. Wait. 600 to 250 would be $350 difference. It would be, right? Yeah, it would be. Okay, I was right. For a second there, I had to question myself on that one, but it is what it is. So, anyways, the PS4 went from 400 to 300, so $100 difference there, which is, alright, whatever. Sure. And then you have an increase for the PS5. The first increase in history. And to be quite frank on this one, it's like, this is just one of the saddest things to see in history. Completely. Really. Like, seeing consoles go up, I've never seen, like, times have went like this for so long. I mean, if you look at, like, Nintendo consoles, like, okay, so Nintendo consoles, console costs at launch, and they had quite a lot at launch, to 5 years later, we can see later. So we have here, so how much have they cost? Wait a flippin' minute. Wait. I want to know how much they costed then and now. Wait a minute. Okay, well, now I'm going to have to do some research on Nintendo, actually, in the next episode. So, because I can't really pull it up, actually, unfortunately. So, yeah, I'm not gonna go out of my way for this, but it's fine. Now, I'm going to tell you guys the reason why investing into a PC would be highly ethical, and at this point, like, it would be like something that would be worth buying. And actually, a lot of people would argue that, like, that Valve selling the Steam machine for $500 and at the very most $700 seems ethical, which honestly, to be quite honest, I don't see Valve, like, dipping down unless they decide to. Like, I mean, I could see them deciding to, but at the same time, I don't see them doing it, because here's the thing. Like, you have really good quality service, you have good customer service on making sure that your account doesn't get hacked. They have really, I mean, it's not really strict policies at the moment, and to be quite frank, they're like the most reasonable company that I know at this point. And the reason why I'm stating that fact is because, I mean, well, stating that opinion, really. I mean, people would state that as an opinion, right? But here's the thing that you have to come to realization here, is that when you have the Steam machine at will with, like, buying it, there's, like, plenty of games that are up for options and whatnot and are still there. To come to like an agreement on it, or at least, like, come to, like, some sort of term with it, you come to realize that, like, if you buy something that's like, it's It's like this. Like, I buy something with very good quality for $1,000, right? Or do I buy something with crappy quality that, honestly, I would buy for $500, but it's being sold for $800? What am I gonna choose? I'd rather choose $1,000 product because if it's gonna last me longer, why not buy that product instead? I feel like it would be a lot better to just buy that instead of the, just to buy that instead of the console or whatever that's costing less if it's not gonna last me that long. I mean, there's literal newses and there's literal news out there and a lot of stories of people stating that their consoles and handhelds, just really their what do you call a handheld? I guess let's just call it a handheld, right? So they're just basically like dying like 10 years later, 12 years later, and it's like, okay, malfunctioning, that's not good. Now with a PC, like, all you have to do is just replace some parts and then it'll last a bit longer. And currently I think it's a no-brainer to buy something that will last me like for like 20 something years, 30 something years, than to buy something that won't last me that long. If I'm going to be quite frankly honest here with the logistics on that, because if I'm gonna buy something if I'm gonna buy a product and if people would argue like on the other side of it, like I can see the other side of it where like, oh, like I'm not gonna buy the Steam machine for like $1,000. Like, dude, I probably would. I actually would. If I had the money, I probably would, because compared to like the PlayStation 5, the Xbox, Nintendo Switch 2, why am I gonna buy that if the quality is just not gonna be that good for certain games? If I could just buy the Steam machine and then like, I honestly would be good in that long run. In a sense, like I would be. I actually would be good in the long run. And more to say about that. It's just like you have to really like sit here and think, like really think about these things, like think about these things long term. And I think a lot of people like, I mean, I guess Vertango Plays makes a good point. A lot of people are really stupid on not thinking things long term at the point. In fact, a lot of people, look, like I'm not trying to call y'all stupid, by the way, if you can't think long term. I'm just saying, and actually this was a topic I was trying to talk about today, but I'm holding it off because I really did want to cover this news about the PlayStation 2. And I think it's gonna just crumble them from the inside out in a way, or not even crumble from the inside out. It's just crumbling them apart, and it's really like gonna take a toll for them, and they're really gonna learn the lesson in a way. Hopefully, we'll do in due time. Maybe we'll see, because just a lot of mistreating and a lot of like how things are being held and ran. It's just not going too successfully for a lot of reasons, and you can clearly see why. You can clearly see why. And a lot of it has to do with, like, oh, things are being okay with, to like, taken into like just accepting things that are not okay, and then like, when you accept things that are not okay, and then you get mad about it later on, it's like, hold on now. You signed the contract saying that you were okay with this. So, who's to blame here? Well, I mean, obviously, yes, the deceiver in a way, but also, like, you are to blame yourself, because, I mean, if anybody's just as bad as, like, Nintendo fans, as a lot of people would say, a Nintendo fan, being a Nintendo fan is kind of a disgrace in a way, people would say. I'm not saying that, I'm just saying, like, that's what a lot of people are saying, from what I'm hearing. I think it's just embarrassing. Like, I honestly think, like, if you are a console fan, that is honestly fine. But I also want to ask you, like, if you're a console fan and you're seeing something like being killed from the inside out and like really just taken away from what was originally like there, like, how well and how much are you gonna fight for it back? Are you gonna just sit there and let things happen, or are you gonna just like, I don't know, I would fight for it back. Now, I'm just one person, so like, what am I gonna do? Nobody's gonna listen to me. Now, I could sit here and say that all I want, but the thing is like, I wanna learn more about like what's going on in everybody's minds and like what you guys are really actually thinking about these decisions that you're making that cause these problems in the first place. Because this is a huge problem that has been occurring for the longest, and the reason why I'm holding this conversation to the next episode is because, quite frankly, I have a lot to talk about in that, and maybe some jump cuts even, just to make sure that what I'm saying is making sense, because like, and I'm trying to make sense of it, but, you know, this leads down to one causing factor here, or really a causing problem, and that is, I don't know what the heck that was. There was a little glitch on the wall, what the heck? Alright, sorry about that, y'all. But yeah, the causing factor is that this is gonna sound very like you're not gonna like me. You guys are not gonna like me on my take on this. But I think critical thinking is actively, like, people can say this. People are saying critical thinking is dead. I think it's just dying. I think critical thinking is still here somewhat. If it was dead, nobody would be critically thinking. But if it's dying, then some of it's still there, and there are people that are trying to actively kill it. And I think this is just a component that is just going to keep going until someone says something about it, which a lot of people are saying about it. And I think somebody that said something about it is very, very well known on the internet. And it's considered controversial. And yeah, I guess that's just what I wanted to say in a sense. But I think I'm going to call it for today, because I really want to keep these conversations and really these topics to like one video, so that way I'm not just ranting about random stuff. Today was about the PlayStation 2 thing, or not PlayStation 2 thing, but it was about PlayStation in general, Sony, how consumers are pretty much retaliating for it, which I'm really happy about. But let's just make sure that we're doing this with the intent to like not just like start stroking our ego as soon as things go our way, because that's the last thing I want, is for anybody's egos to be stroked. I don't think anybody's egos should be stroked. I think there should be a lot of humbling and a lot of other things that should be going on right now. But what do I know? I'm just some random guy on the internet talking about gaming topics. And the reason why I'm talking about the gaming politics is because it is affecting me directly in a way. And I don't know. I just don't want anybody else to get hurt by it. I don't want to see a future generation getting hurt by it. And I definitely want people to have somewhat of a freedom to, like I had and other generations had when they started playing video games, you know? It used to be back in the time where video games were... Well, like I said, I'm going to keep this to another episode. So, with that being said, I'm going to call it here. Hope you guys did enjoy. Spread this video around if you want to. Trying to get up to 100 subscribers, hopefully by the end of the year. Let's see if that happens. But with that being said, don't forget to shine bright and stay bright.